Okay, and we are also in progress. A very warm welcome to another episode of Fauza's Diary. If you are looking for something little and yet inspiring, then you have stumbled upon the right show. That's the beauty about my diaries. They inspire us, they encourage us, but also they make us think. The purpose of these conversations on my Fauza Diaries is to bring men and women who they have gone through a journey and they are willing to share their stories with us. Joining me today on Fauza's Diary is a good friend, Roger Chakhtoura, all the way from Lebanon, but he's joining me right here from United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Roger, welcome to my Fauza's Diaries. Please introduce yourself a little bit and briefly and what you do.
Good morning, Fauza. Thank you for having me. I like that we haven't met in the physical world and you still call me a friend, which is amazing because I see it the same way. I've already listened to a couple of your Fauza's Diaries in the past, and it's a blessing being here and being part of the message you're trying to transmit. So my name is Roger. I'm the founder of a startup called Reconnect, which focuses on three main components: mental strength, happiness, and wellness. And we launched in March 22nd, which is Happiness Day, World Happiness Day, because this is what Reconnect stands for. As you can see behind me, Reconnect is a smiley face. Our slogan is smile and the whole world will smile with you. So we are an organization. I wouldn't say it's a company because we are heading towards becoming a humanitarian organization that brings a very interesting model called the 7 Dimensions of Wellness. And it's not something that we created, but it's something that we believe in and we experienced ourselves. I mean, in my past, I was in the corporate world. I worked for 17 years in multinationals. I was blessed to be in amazing companies like Virgin Megastore, like Red Bull, and each of them has been a blessing for my life. They were always choices, actually. I wanted to work with these companies and I worked for them and learned so much. I mean, when we look at the mentors of these companies, we're looking at Sir Richard Branson, one of the most inspirational people in the world. And on the other hand, at Red Bull, Mr. Dietrich Mateschitz, an Austrian who's also founded a new category in the beverage industry and has transformed the way people look at sports and even culture. And and here I am, actually. I left the corporate world. I went through a lot, actually. It all started with burnout from work, the wrong routines at my work, wrong choices in life, bad health, substance use, no exercise, etc. And then that started taking me into a very dark spiral, actually, and I did find myself at some point in a psychiatric hospital. And going through something like this, I mean, the moment you walk out of a psychiatric hospital, you are known to be mentally ill automatically. That's how your family looks at you, that's how your friends look at you, and that's how society looks at you. Unfortunately, in a place like, not just, I would say, the Middle East, but in a lot of places around the world, including modern or industrialized countries, mental illnesses are still people who go through or have gone through a psychiatric hospital or diagnosed or misdiagnosed, in my case, misdiagnosed with a mental illness. Your journey becomes very difficult. Nobody wants to employ you because they're scared of what you can do. And then, of course, the reputational aspect. So I was misdiagnosed 3 times with bipolar disorder. And I think it was really one of the darkest places I've been in my life. But thankfully, I would say, so much with the support of my own mind and my will to live, and I would say also my daughter, who played the role in me wanting to live for that little creature that I made. made me find my strength again and understand what went with me and look in depth inside myself. And that journey led me to start Reconnect, to actually not just share my experience, but to help others who are experiencing similar journeys. And yeah, and here we are. We launched, like I said, just a couple of months ago. It hasn't been an easy ride because we're also pretty much against the current. I would like to say, like, I'm thankful it's June, although I'm born in May. I mean, May has become Mental Health Month, and you find yourself battling an industry that is trying to put people in boxes. It's incredible how much I see. I mean, from my own experience and from what a lot of people are going through. Of course, there's good practitioners in mental health, but there's also a lot of I would say abuse of roles. There's a lot going on globally, and especially in our region in terms of human rights violations, abuse, and other things. And all while we do wear a smile and reconnect, and we always do things from a positive perspective, we also do talk a lot about what is happening, so we can raise awareness so that people know who they go to and what kind of practitioner find their own path and to know their choices. And their choices are many, like it's not the solutions are not always sitting at the psychologist chair. There are other components of life or dimensions of life that people need to look at. So this got us into the 7 dimensions of wellness. It is something I experienced myself. A year ago, I came to Dubai and I was 15 kilos heavier. My kidneys were shutting down. My mind was gone, and I was also still in a dark place. And within a year, I could say I'm now 30. I'm now 39. I never felt healthier, happier, and strong. And I never even had that feeling when I was 18. And yeah, it's a blessing to be here, and it's a blessing to be with you. We've had a few interactions, and we saw that power within each other to cause change and to help others in their journey. So thank you so much.
Yeah, there is so much, Roger. And I want us to go back a bit. You've shared that, you know, you did so well in the corporate world, and then at a certain point you find yourself in the psychiatric.
Yeah.
You've also mentioned about burnout, right?
Yeah.
And then, you also say that you are diagnosed, and all that.
Yeah.
What do you think would have been the cause of that?
I think different reasons, but I would say the main reason is, I mean, there are two things I always like to say, and it's something that appears in all the holy books, and it's know thyself, right? And I think this is the biggest message. Like, we need to know who we are and what we want to be, and once we start listening to ourselves and knowing ourselves, then it is important that we pursue our path. In my case, I did this podcast a couple of months ago, about mental illnesses and my simplification of the topic, because I really think things are much more simple than are being portrayed. Mental health or mental challenges have been always part of history, but the psychiatric industry is only 50 years old.
Right.
Until 50 years ago or 60 years ago, people treated each other with empathy, human connections, and love. When people were going through things, when warriors went to war and they had to kill, and it's against their nature, when they came back, their tribe welcomed them, they embraced them, they did what they could to welcome them back into their humanity. They loved them, they showed them empathy, and they connected with them. They did ceremonies for them. They did so many things. And now this has become an industry that has, like the medical industry, it has manuals. And that manual is looking at symptoms. And the symptoms, if we are 8 billion people on the planet, if you send them all to mental health experts, probably we will all have some kind of mental illness if we're looking at symptoms. There's
Really?
also, yeah, probably. In my case, you know what? I really believe that I exhibited all the symptoms of the disorder that I was labeled with, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is bipolar. And bipolar is this swinging state between extended durations of depressions, and then after a depression, what comes is I want to live, I want to have fun, I want to enjoy my life. So you go into this ultra opposite state of energy and like I want to live and like when now when I really look at it and when I analyzed it myself, it's like
Mm-hmm.
what would you do after you've seen that dark place? You want to live, so it's a
Yeah.
natural reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So now you go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and they ask you these questions. So how did you behave, blah blah blah, in the past 2 years? And when you
Mm-hmm.
see that you have gone through these states, all bipolar disorder, right? But
Mm.
I'll tell you what it was. Like I said, I had a lot of I was living a wrong lifestyle for sure. There was,
Okay.
like I said, there was alcohol, there was substance use, there was extensive work routines and like mismanagement of work-life balance. I was in the wrong kind of relationships, the wrong kind of friendships, whatever you name it, I did it wrong. And at some point, it just caught up with me. But I would say it's always what I've really came to understand is that
Mm-hmm.
that polarity was always a result of me not pursuing my purpose. It's like when I don't pursue my purpose, I find myself in a depression. And
Uh-huh.
then when I start pursuing my purpose, I'm like this heightened energy. But then
Mm-hmm.
the first failure, and then everybody around you tells you, no, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this.
Right.
Religion is telling you, family is telling you, friends are telling you, etc. Then it pulls you back into that state. So for me, I always say I did not know myself, I did not pursue
Mm.
my purpose, and now
Yeah.
that I am, I'm in a constant state of manic episode.
Yes, and that is so powerful, Roger. But I,
Yeah,
I want, yeah, because I'm just thinking someone who is watching us,
yeah,
or those who are gonna stumble this conversation later,
mm,
it took you on a different journey altogether. And
yeah,
would you say then that
mm,
was your turning point? Because I want us now to go back and talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
the
The
seven
fact,
dimensions and
yeah,
reconnect and all that, because you went
mm,
you went through on a journey,
yeah,
right? Misdiagnosis and all that, and labeled and all that.
yeah,
Do you think that was your turning point to reback?
yeah. My turning point was actually I came back to Dubai not this March, so March 2020. And
Mm-hmm.
I came back, and for the first time, I mean, living in Lebanon where all of this happened, where there's also a lot of, I would say, like, like it's a fiasco and a disaster when it comes to the mental health system. It is incredibly corrupt to the extent that, like, people are on mass drugging, like people just like off the counter, although they try to regulate it every once in a while, but people have access to drugs all the time,
Yeah.
psychiatric drugs. There's a lot going on in that sense. So and I went through a divorce, I was separated from my daughter, I was etc. And then Lebanon for me was not the right place. It's my country, but it's not my place.
Okay.
Culturally, not. So I was surrounded by all of this. And when I came to Dubai in March 2020, this is where I had my first moments of peace in 4 years.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and COVID started a week after
Yeah.
the lockdown.
Yeah.
And then, for 3, 4 months during the lockdown, I was like literally just trying to, apply for jobs when everyone is being laid off. So of course the chances were very slim. But during this time, I was like, for the first time in an introspective state. I was looking
Mm-hmm.
for answers. I was looking for solutions.
Mm-hmm.
I got to a point where I couldn't accept anymore the state that I was in.
Okay.
I wanted to do something about it, and I always come back to my daughter. I have a
Yeah.
daughter, and
Yeah.
at 38, I get to a point where I come to Dubai with $100 after like a career of 17 years. You lose everything in the process, and then you come to Dubai with $100 dependent on your family. So you know, it starts pushing you to do something, and
You just
that's
made me tear up. Oh my.
it's okay. I still don't have $100. Just the state is different. You know, I always say when the purpose is there, the money will come, and the yeah, everything will come. We're doing amazing, I think, with Reconnect, and we're starting to attract the right partnerships and the right projects.
Yeah.
And a startup is never easy. And you know, like sometimes I'm willing to leave my apartment and stay with friends if that is going to enable me to continue. I'm so committed to it, and I think this is what, you know, when I was telling you about the, you know, you go into that heightened state you want to do, but then at the first failure you go back to the previous state because everything tells you to stop and you don't
Yeah.
listen to yourself. But for the first time, Foza, I have this sense of commitment to what I
Mm-hmm.
do. Reconnect is the third organization I start, or the third brand, and I failed the first two times, and I know it will not fail simply because I do it for something bigger than myself, and I do it for impact, for change, for helping others. And you know, in Islam or in Christianity or in Judaism or in Hinduism, they all say the same thing: what you give comes back, and it comes back multiplied. So I've been receiving blessings all the time. I'm here with you, and that's a blessing. You know, I was with the female wave of change a few days ago, and even through that, you know, session, doors opened up for solutions in Lebanon, which we've been trying to work on for a while, to find or create solutions to balance out what is happening
Yeah.
there, to supporting people in their journey, especially focusing on kids and youth.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think we're in a very good place, and you know, the commitment is there, and we've gathered an amazing community. Reconnect, you know, with the 7 dimensions, it's a community-driven organization. That I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a medic, but what I did, me and my very small team, is what we continue to create partnerships and collaborations under each of the dimensions, so to showcase the choices that people have. And we focus so much on the know thyself and the power of choice. And knowing yourself is knowing your choices as well. And there are so many different therapies or different methodologies that people
Mm-hmm.
can find themselves in. So it's not just conventional medicine or conventional. There are practices that have been there for thousands of years,
Yeah.
whether it's sound, whether it's dance, whether it's movement, whether it's food. There are so many amazing practices that we can learn from the ancients and from the new. Like, you know, I think there's a lot for people to look at and to find their own knowledge and their own truth. And this is what is most important for us, is to show those available options and to help people find themselves. And
Mm.
finding themselves means that they need to look, or they need to sit with themselves and look at what is it that they want for themselves, and then pursuing it.
That is so powerful, Roger. I just wanted to ask, what have you learned? Because you are serving, and I love your testimony, and you sharing so honestly, and that for me it's courage. That
Yeah,
is, it's vulnerability, it's
yeah,
courage. But I just love that, you know, you didn't let all this marriage of situations to pull you back. You packed and left Lebanon and you came to Dubai. And then, of course, COVID crippled the whole world. And, I think we're among the first to be on isolation. I remember last year in UAE. But you didn't just stop there and start feeling sorry, which for sometimes, which with the human reaction would have been the easy thing to do, and start feeling pity and feeling sorry, and all that.
yeah,
So you birthed Reconnect during this time.
yeah.
But before we go and, share a bit about that, I wanted to ask you, what did you learn about yourself, Roger, in this season? Because
Uh,
you've mentioned that we need to know ourselves.
yeah.
When we know ourselves, we know the choices that we have, which is so powerful because many times, most of us, sometimes we don't know that we have a choice.
Yeah.
When we are in an abusive relationship, sometimes we choose to stick in there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, there is just things that sometimes I think when you are conditioned so much with it, you don't see the other way around,
Yeah.
but you had to make a decision. So you made a choice.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself in that time?
Okay, I learned, I would say I would focus on three things. And I keep like receiving these messages from different sources. One of them is you don't know how strong you are until strength is all you have. Like, I think people will always find what they're made of and what they're capable of the moment they have nothing to depend on but their own strength. I think people generally are in a state of comfort, and I love my state of discomfort. What I've learned is that the more uncomfortable I am, the more creative and giving and productive I am. Comfort is the biggest obstacle, I think, because like you said, a lot of people are giving themselves excuses not to do certain things. Oh, I don't have time to the gym. I don't have time to be happy. I don't have time to go and party if I want to party. I don't
Yes.
have time. So people, like I reached the conclusion that I'm a person, a human being that needs 5 hours of sleep a day. I wake up at 5 a.m. I manage my physical health, emotional health, creativity, and emotional health before I get to 8 a.m. And then my day is for me to, create my reality. I think a lot of people are in routines that are unproductive. It's really funny to see that so many people put Netflix as a hobby, or TV as a hobby. I mean, when TV becomes a hobby, I think it's quite a problem.
There is
First,
a
because
problem.
there is definitely a problem. I don't have a TV. I haven't watched TV in a year. That doesn't mean I don't consume content, but I choose to consume content in my own way. The second, so strength, I think, is the first one. Strength is really like putting the time and the effort and creating the time and space for you to achieve what you want. And we all have the strength and we all have the time, and we can if we choose to. It's a choice. The second thing, I'll tell you what I came across today. I told you I'm happy Mental Health Month this month because I've seen so much misleading messaging going on. And the last one of which I saw today from an international organization that has thousands and thousands of followers. And the message says, don't trust your mind. Your mind is playing tricks on you. So that's a mental health awareness platform. And you know what? There were 500 comments saying, oh, wow, this is amazing. You inspired me today. I mean, what kind of mental health is telling people not to trust their own mind? This is the problem that people are having, is that they're not trusting their own mind. You get these, I mean, it's like your mind is playing tricks on you. Like, I mean, that's a really misleading, and there's a lot of misleading information. Now, what I learned regarding my own mind is that my mind is my most important source of whatever I want to create in my world, and I reprogram my mind. I reprogrammed it by disconnecting from TV, disconnecting from the news, disconnecting from even, recently, I don't like to say this, I love my family, but I had to disconnect from my family. I had to put my family
Yeah, if
away.
it's toxic, Roger, yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. If it's toxic,
Yeah.
I think it's okay to step
Yeah.
back. That is you
Yeah.
respecting yourself and respecting your feelings. I
Yeah.
think I'm the same.
Yeah. Yeah. If it gets to this point, so like I said, like when it comes to reprogramming your mind, I do this every night. I listen to the things that I want my mind, my subconscious mind. Now, our subconscious forms until the age of 7. And
Yeah.
for the rest of our lives, we could be on autopilot mode based on traumas and silly stuff that happened with us when we were kids. Oh, my daddy didn't get me a gift on my birthday. My daddy doesn't love me. So all their life, you can grow up with this in your mind. My father doesn't love me, but your father sent you to school and university and probably created every opportunity for you to be. They did their best, right? I mean, we don't blame them, but we still live with that trauma. So the subconscious mind can be retrained and reprogrammed. And it's what you feed. You know, I was listening to this very powerful video yesterday. I was actually sharing it because it's a practice that I do for the last, I would say, 8 months. And since I started working on Reconnect, the moment I want to go to sleep, I put on my earphones what my subconscious needs to hear. What is it that I want to achieve in my life? What is the philosophy that I believe in? What are the powers I want to have? And simply, I wake up the next morning and I have all of them. I listen to things like Alan Watts, Terence McKenna. I listen to different things like people who I believe in their message and I believe in what they are saying is my reality. It's what appeals to me. And just, you know, this is such a powerful time. When you go to sleep, the first hour of your sleep is actually when your conscious mind shuts down.
Yeah.
And then you enter into a phase called theta phase. And there's something called theta healing or theta therapy. Now, in that phase, whatever information comes from your ears goes directly to your subconscious. And this is where you reprogram yourself. And I think this is where we need to all focus so much on reprogramming what we've learned. You know, I recently, last week, in relation to the same topic, I attended, we partnered up with Essential Wellbeing. Essential Wellbeing is fantastic. It's based here in Dubai, in JLT, and they are the first believers in what we did. When we tried to work with conventional mental health, nobody worked with us, simply because they see us as a conflict of interest. However, Essential Wellbeing, you know, like their approach is if you come to them and you tell them I'm bipolar, they tell you keep your bipolar at the door and let's start fresh. No stigmatization, no labeling. And they do these different therapies. So I attended something called family constellation therapy, and I did it to actually document it for Reconnect, but I also participated in it to experience it myself. We were 7 people. 7 people, we were all pretty much, 6 of us were Arab, from different countries of the Arab world, including 2 local ladies from the UAE, and there was also a lady from India. It was incredible to see how much our families, our religions, our cultures, our societies, our friends are our biggest enemies. Okay? Because we've programmed to fit into everybody's agendas but our own. So, you know, when you want to start a business, everybody is, you know, it's out of love and fear. You know, they love you, but then loving you is sometimes the biggest obstacle because that love is destructive, is they don't want you to fail.
Restrictive, yeah.
It's restrictive. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with religion. Of course, I'm a very faithful person myself. I have my own faith and my connectivity to the divine force. But for me, I reject a lot of what is happening or how people are making religion a restrictive force. And this is something inherited through generations and thousands of years of, you know, like of certain practices or ideas that have been inherited. So what we reached the conclusion in the family constellation therapy is that all 7 of us, like our problems in life, are all driven by our parents. Like they are our obstacles to being who we want to be. Like it's, you know, like when we go to individual therapy, it's like we start thinking we're alone. When you sit with 7 people in the same room, you realize that our biggest enemy is our own family.
Oh, but open up. That is so powerful, Roger. I love that. I think, and that is why we have to be careful now in our generation, how we parent, how we raise our kids, because I always say that some of these things actually I've talked about them in my book, Rising from the Dust. And you know, before that, I love what you said. I used to think, you know, maybe I'm the only one I've experienced this and this. But when I shared this journey, it's like a bulb opened up and, you know, it was like, oh my God, I relate so much with you. You know, when I did some interviews, people like, I relate so much with that and so much with this. So then you're like, okay. You know, so I like what you're saying. And, you know, but I also, the older I get now, I realize that if you don't know better, you don't do better. You know, and then we are programmed to fit in a societal mold where we are born This is what we need to do. We go to school, we do this, we do this, we get married at a certain age. If you are too late to get married, something is not okay with you, or then we do this and do that. If you do things differently, then you become an outcast, or you become something totally different. So I so much relate with that, Roger. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. I
Fauza,
want
I
to
want to actually tell you something based on just what you said. It's like, you know, there's someone I really respect a lot. He's a philosopher from the 70s called Alan Watts. Okay? He says, psychiatry has replaced religion in playing the role of the guardian of people's sanity. Anyone who diverts from the norm is labeled mentally ill. Okay, and basically, like you said, it's like, you know, we teach our kids. I don't, but we generally teach our kids to fit into the society instead of us encouraging them to be who they are, not who they want to be, who they are. It's like we need to look at our kids and we need to see. My daughter is 7 years old. I'm blessed to have, like, to every day see her in this state of happiness. She loves to dance. And I came to her and I said to her at 7 years old, Clelia, what do you want to be like when you know, get a bit older? And she tells me, I want, if you can want to be a dance teacher, that means you can have a dancing school. She said, yeah, Daddy, I'd love that. I said, Clelia, tonight I want you to go close your eyes before you sleep, and I want you to start visualizing how that school looks like. And then I want you to make a prayer to God and say, Dear God, can you help me please have a dance school? And then I told her the next morning, I want you to write it down or draw it or whatever, and I want you to share it with me because I want to help you also in manifesting that idea. Now, she, next day, within 24 hours, she had a drawing and blah, blah. And I told her, okay, so explain to me what you drew. So she drew a school, she designed the interior and the exterior. She has no skills in interior design or architecture. She made the signage to make sure that anyone who passes from there knows it's her school and that it's a dance school. She made it 5 rooms. 1 is a teacher's room and 4 are for different types of dance practices. Now, I said I want to challenge her. So I said, Clelia, why do you need 5 rooms? Like, you can make it 3 rooms and then you could schedule in such a way that, you know, you have a full-time schedule and, you know, you pay less rent and stuff. She said, Daddy, no. Because if I have 5 rooms, I can have them all full all day and I can make more money. Now, I was a country manager managing a $6 million budget. I had to shut up and tell her, you know what, Daddy, you're right. And I was wrong because I was conditioned to maximize small spaces, you know, because of, you know, less rent, less cost. But she is actually looking at it as an investor at 7
It's
years
because
old.
she knows
And
her
now
God is so big also. And I love that. I love the
she's
power of,
limitless.
yes, that is so powerful, Roger. I live in my vision boards. Honestly, I live in my vision boards, and I have vision boards for everything, for whether it's what I want to achieve, whether it's my own well-being, whether it's my anything, what do I want? You know, I love the power of vision boards. I'm telling you, I really do. And it's actually, for me as a believer, it's actually biblical. You know, Habakkuk, in the book of Habakkuk, you know, God told Habakkuk, write the vision, make it so clear, and let it, wait for it, let it happen. You know, and Habakkuk said, I'm going to sit on the touchtower and wait. For me, I vision on that. I'm telling you, I love the power vision board because, you know, it's biblical. It's there in the Bible as well. So good on her. That is so powerful.
And commitment to I mean, you know, everyone around us, a lot of people, and a lot of, you know, like I've had in the path of Reconnect, it took eight months of development, and we've launched 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, I had people who came to, you know, believed in that vision, and then they came and they started saying, but Roger, you are so committed to the 7 dimensions of wellness. Why don't you do a yoga retreat? Why don't you do a yoga event? Why don't you do a I don't know what event? And I said, no. we are not about that. Reconnect is about being the best human possible. For you to be the best human possible, you need to be aware of your 7 dimensions and you need to integrate them into your everyday life. This is the vision
Yes.
of Reconnect.
Yes. So I was sorry, Roger, to interrupt, but I want us now to talk more about what Reconnect is and what,
Yeah.
what is it all about and why did you birth this new baby in COVID? This is a COVID baby, yo. We should call Reconnect COVID baby.
Yes, it is a COVID baby. It was actually reviewed in Arabian business as well as one of the COVID babies. It is a COVID baby on every level. I mean, I'm a COVID baby too, because I always say COVID has been my blessing. It
Yes.
made me sit with myself and explore my powers and explore myself and who I want to be or who I am. It's made me, I think introspection is one of the biggest healers, just sitting with ourselves and whether it's meditation or whether it's just sitting in silence or waking up early without interruption and just really exploring who we want to be is the biggest. And in our cultures, we don't know how to be alone. We simply don't know how to survive. I mean, when you look at people of the North, I like to call them people of the North, Finland, Norway, Germany, they sit 9 months in silence, and that makes them creative and productive. Here in our part of the world, we don't know how to be alone, and it's
Like,
destructive. We're social animals here, and because
yes.
the weather is so good all year. I mean, so people are always constantly filling their time with something outside of themselves when everything they need is actually inside of themselves. And this was, yes, it is a COVID baby because it's for the first time after 37 years of life that I'm sitting alone in silence and trying to explore without interruption who I am. And when I found who I am, I started working on it. And it happened in different phases. It wasn't from the beginning, it wasn't like always reconnect. It was like at first
Yeah.
in the beginning, I was like, I want to do what I love. And I started doing, I play music. I mean, I was, labeled bipolar. Now I say I'm heptapolar, which means 7 dimensional. And for a lot of people that's crazy because like people are now also kind of committed to that 8 hours where they do one thing. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have different dimensions for my life. I started writing poetry and I'm committed to writing a poem every day because I want to launch a book in 365 days and every 365 days.
So oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and in Arabic, with a few exceptions in English, depending who I want to
And
impress.
French? How come no what no French?
Je ne parle pas le français. I like
Un
to say,
petit peu.
je gazoue le français comme un crocodile.
Okay, translate later. Okay.
I speak French like a crocodile.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so back to Reconnect and you know, yeah.
Yeah. What do you want me to tell you? I'll tell you. I'll tell you actually a bit about what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
And
because I think that is what people who
yeah,
wants to be a part of, when they know what it's all about, but also how can they support? If you
yeah,
can if you can talk a bit about that
yes.
before our time, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, how we support, I mean, like when a lot of people are getting exposed to that model of 7 dimensions, a lot of people are coming to us and telling us like, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. I've actually built the confidence to play sometimes the role of a therapist to a certain extent. And I would always just spend enough time with that person to know what is the in psychology, it's called the root cause.
Yeah. What is it?
Instead
Yeah.
of the symptoms, I don't ask about the symptoms. I said, like, why are you feeling that way? What
Yeah.
is stopping you? What is holding you? And and I'm really lucky because I think so far helped 3 people in very destructive journeys. 2 of them were suicidal. They didn't call me when they were suicidal, but I knew that they have been through suicidal phases in their lives and
Mm-hmm.
that are going through very destructive phases. And thankfully, within just like a few conversations, they made changes in their paths that were
Mm.
the changes that were needed for so long, and they knew it. It was always inside of them, but then they didn't do it because of family, because of society, because of blah blah blah. And just, the moment we tell them accept who you are and be who you
Absolutely.
are, and
Absolutely.
we encourage them to do that. And then we always, like I said, because we do have partners across the 7 dimensions, we always, once
Yeah.
we understand their causes, we tell them this could be the right therapy for you. Why don't you speak to this person? During
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
session also with we had the person, and you're aware, of course I will not say names, but a lady got in touch through the session with the female wave of change, and she expressed that she's been going to psychologists and and she doesn't know, and nothing is changing. And we had a call after that, and we spoke, and we referred her to things she hasn't been exposed to, but that are based on the story that she told us. um,
Mm.
so and this is what we do. We maintain these relationships. Like I said, I always go back to the empathy, human connections, and love. The moment we start doing things with that intention, people are having trust in what we do, and they are coming to us, and we are guiding them to partners. So now what we do different initiatives. We do awareness events. We do social media and content to raise awareness. Today we will be launching one episode about the family constellation therapy. We work with our partners to highlight the options that are available for people. So whether it's physical events or web content, or like this conversation, we always
Mm-hmm.
do take every opportunity to bring awareness. Now,
Mm.
what we want to do and how people can support us, I would say, we are actually, I told you what I've experienced in Lebanon, and Lebanon is one of many places where abuse and human rights violations in the field of mental health are happening. Lebanon
Mm.
also recently had a collapse, and as much as I don't like being there and living there, it's still my country, and I know what is happening. There's been an economic collapse, and people are literally on the streets. Now, we've approached so many different organizations from global, I don't also want to name, they will have different sessions for that, where we approach and we reported human rights violations, and we spoke about what's happening with children, and nothing has been done, not from a legislative perspective, not from a legal perspective, not from a religious perspective. Anyone who we went to did not do anything. So we reached a conclusion that we will create the solutions with our own hands.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing actually within a few days, I would say within a few weeks, we've been doing a lot of, background, I would say, partnership building and development for a project to start the first 7-dimensional mental strength center for children and youth in Lebanon, in the poorest city in Lebanon called Tripoli. Now, why did we choose that area? First, because people don't have access to proper mental care. Second, because that city is infested with drugs. Third, people don't have money to send their kids to school anymore. And kids at the age of 7 and 6 and 5 are on the streets learning all the destructive habits that could probably land them in early death, violations, abuse, or murder, or whatever it is. So we chose to start this project in Tripoli in Lebanon. So we've done amazing in terms of community development, and we are ready to soon start campaigning for it. We're just finalizing some details regarding who our partners are in terms of NGOs. I know that you are also involved in one or have founded one, so I'm more than happy to also explore with you offline. But we're also finding the right partners on the ground in Lebanon to support us from a legal perspective and from a logistical perspective. I think we've done an amazing job, and like that project consists of like partners who are willing to give percentages from their profits, organizations, mental health, yoga practitioners, sound healers, fitness instructors. We have celebrities in the US, in the UK, in Lebanon that jumped on board to do awareness. We have people lined up to fund and to put in money to enable that center to happen. With what's happening in Lebanon, especially with the currency depreciation, solutions are so cheap for somebody who's living here. Like really, like like everything for the outside world has become kind of immaterial. So solutions
Yeah.
are easy to find. We've
Yeah.
also partnered up with some amazing partners in, like, for example, Global Changemakers, which is a Swiss-based NGO that has a entrepreneurship program, design thinking, a project that teaches kids as of the age of 10 how to create their own solutions to the problems they see around them and to make money out of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have art programs, music programs, across the 7 dimensions. We follow the same methodology, and when these kids are going to come to us, and they are going to come to us from different sources, including the child protection NGO in Lebanon, because they are the ones where people who or kids who are being subject to abuse and torture in their own homes or in their schools or whatever it is. We are collaborating with them to actually handle these kids and create customized program. We understand their purpose at a
Mm-hmm.
very early age, and we create customized programs for them. And anyone else is welcome. We're chose, like I said, Tripoli, because we want to make this an open space for people to come, for kids and youth to come, and we help them. If they can't go to school, if we can't help them pay their school, at least we're going to teach them the skills for them to be able not just to
Yeah.
survive, but to thrive.
Yeah.
Art, music,
Use their hands.
poetry, writing, exactly.
Yeah.
Use their
Yeah.
minds and their hands and their hearts.
Absolutely. That is so powerful, Roger. Our time is almost up. I would like for you to give your final words to someone who is watching us. What
Mhm.
would your final words be?
I would say always, um, first, I think we need to start. I always use these 3 words: empathy, human connection, and love. When I say empathy, I think we need to start empathizing with ourselves, even accepting our limitations and embracing our powers. Empathy also means that we need to connect with people who we see around us. It's really sad to see that when somebody puts a let's say influencer puts a photo of them eating pizza, they have 5,000 likes, and
I
then
know.
when you see somebody puts a post on human rights violations, everybody shies away from us, even at Reconnect.
Yes.
when
Can you
when, when
imagine?
yeah, we put a
Imagine.
post.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put a post, like, that has, or a video that has maybe 200 views. We're still, our base is quite small but quite effective. But we put a video that shows a bit of skin and a bit of food and a bit of celebrity status, and then people watch it and love it. And then the moment we put something about human rights violations, people just run away with it. It's like, I think empathy is really looking around the problems we have in the world. And if we really look at the problems, we are at a very bad state. From an environmental perspective, if you've watched Life on Our Planet, we're pretty much in the extinction phase. We try to do things for environment, and it's like nobody cares. Like, we
Mm.
need to start caring. Like, empathy is empathizing with with our nature, with not just with other people, but also empathizing with our nature, with our environment. Human connections are the best way of healing. For me, I started my healing when I actually started communicating and to the right people, telling them about what I went through, and those people, when you expression to people you trust and you love is the best form of healing. Like, not necessarily to a mental health expert, connecting with the people around you, connecting, expressing, like, if something bothers you, talk about it on the spot. Like, people, I think, form a lot of negative emotions based on imagination and fear. And I think the moment people start talking their truth, when it happens, anything, whether good or bad, just say it and connect with others, because this is the best form of healing. And I would say the last thing is love. And when I say love, for me, I think I have a bit of a different understanding of love. Love is not red, love is green. It comes our heart. From a chakras perspective, it's green. That energy and that frequency is green. And I think red is a bit of an it's a bit of a commercialized color for love. But love is giving others what they want and not what we think they want. I think we always jump into the conclusion of assuming what other people want, whether it's our kids or our families or our, and this is the biggest problem. You know, people give their opinions when they're not asked to and when they're not, their opinions are not wanted. Um,
Absolutely.
People give the, you know, they think that, you know, if they give, you know, there are 5 languages of love, right? I'm sure you're aware of this, Fauza. And you know, we think that if we hug people and kiss them all the time, that means we love them. But some people don't want to be touched and they don't want to be kissed. They
Yeah.
want you to do an act of kindness towards them. So I think it's very important that when we start forming any connections of love, first they need to start with our own self-love. We are incapable of love when we cannot love ourselves. So the first thing is always love yourself first and then transmit that love. And how you transmit that love is by understanding what is love to the other person and how they want to be loved, and then love them accordingly. I told you recently I had to disconnect with my family because love for them is a way, and for me it's like I don't want that kind of love. It's not what I need right now in my life. I don't want fear and protection. I need
I want to be
understanding,
free.
support, and I want to be, and I want to have my freedom, and I want to have respect for my freedom and for
Yeah.
my reputation and for my peace and for my individuality. So yeah, empathy, human connections, and love are the best form of treating any conditions you go through, whether physical ailment or mental illness or whatever it is. These, I think, are the 3 main components to living a happy, mentally strong, and life full of wellness.
That is so powerful, Roger. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. I think I have nothing else to add into that conclusion, because you have tackled almost everything that,
Thank
and
you so
not just me, but even for everybody who is watching or those who are going to watch later this conversation. Yeah, I think what you're doing is phenomenal, and it takes one person who can do something that they feel and they know for sure that, you know, it's needed, not just for our own, but for the also for the needs of the other person. That is service, and service
Exactly.
brings significance. And I am just so happy that our paths have crossed. Thank you so much for sharing honestly, you know, being vulnerable and open up and talk about it and share your journey. God bless you, and may He open more doors for you so that you can reach many people
God
and,
bless
you
you
know,
too.
impact. Yes, yes,
That's what my daughter always does. Lots of
yes.
love to you, Fauza, and may you
Yes.
always be blessed with this amazing platform that you open for yourself and that energy that you transmit. It's always beautiful to watch and listen to what comes out of your mouth and that lovely smile of yours, which brings so much peace and confidence and comfort to all your guests. So God bless you and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you. And for you, my viewers, you know, please just think about what Roger has told us today, right? And just go within, go deeper, and just have that honest conversation with yourself, because it starts with the inner man, with the inner person, before you can open up, and even before you can pour to other people. If your cup is not filled, you can't pour from an empty cup. Okay, I want to encourage you, if you haven't gotten a copy of Transform Fear into Freedom, Harness the Power of Your Mind, you know, I would want to encourage you to grab a copy. It's everywhere. If you're in Dubai, it's in Kinokuniya, it's in Amazon, it's on my website, it's everywhere. COVID is still there, so I would still want to encourage us to be safe. Let us wear our cute new accessory mask. Let us wash our hands. And I will see you soon with another inspiring conversation just like this one. Don't forget to share and don't forget to subscribe. Be safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.